My world overlaps with yours, but I have one more world than you. I will wait for you here, waiting for your arrival, or. Chapter 1. Week 7. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qi Ning likes to sit alone in the dark, shedding the noise of the day and making people feel peaceful. You can also take a look at them and listen to their stories. But just being an observer. Do you believe there are ghosts in this world? I don't know if there are ghosts, but I hope there are, otherwise some people can escape and be happy. For no reason, he thought of these things and smiled bitterly. What you can't see, I can. Uncle, did you only come today? I didn't seem to see you yesterday, did I? A little ghost in his teens asked. The people here only have 7 days, and after 7 days, they will leave forever. Well, just arrived today, the middle-aged man replied politely. According to the rules, how did you get here? A newcomer arrived, and many people gathered around. It's nothing, the middle-aged man said. He was originally an honest worker, with a harmonious family. He started his own family and his wife also accepted his parents. 3 years later, his child was born, and the family of 5 lived happily ever after. But the good times didn't last long. When there were problems at work and I was forced to resign, my family expenses gradually ran out, and conflicts gradually arose. There was less communication between husband and wife, and it seemed like there was a gap between me and my parents. In the end, he fell down and never got up again. The people around him all showed sympathetic glances. The cowardly man, who had a good home, disappeared like this. Ah! Qi Ning felt a bit regretful. No one paid attention to him. It's hard to hear, almost causing trouble, Qi Ning thought to herself and stood up to leave. Suddenly, he noticed someone in the crowd looking at his side. Oh, it's not long ago. There are some impressions that Qi Ning understands and doesn't pay attention to. Returning to his own nest, Qi Ning recalled what he had seen earlier, while washing up and planning to rest. Suddenly, he stopped moving. Under the dim light, a long shadow pulled out, eerie and enchanting. A head of long hair scattered around the waist, with both hands slightly leaning forward with the body, doing the same movement as Qi Ning. Qi Ning lowered her head to look. This is her own shadow. He looked at the mirror with some surprise. In the narrow bathroom, he saw himself in the mirror, his face colorless. A pleasant and lively laughter came from the ear. Such a wonderful laughter. In normal times, Qi Ning might have approached to strike up a conversation, but this scene was like thunder ringing. Who are you? He asked in a trembling voice. Although he pretended to be calm, the trembling lips revealed a timidity that betrayed him. Didn't we meet before? Why did we forget? The self in the mirror spoke. Qi Ning's face stiffened and her mind searched slowly. Can you come out and let me see? I can't remember where I've seen you before, Qi Ning said unconsciously. As soon as he finished speaking, he immediately regretted it. If someone really appeared, what would be the consequences for himself? I am not a Taoist or monk, and I can still shout, fairies see swords, or bold demons, and then unleash my divine power. Hee hee. You're really funny. In the mirror, I laughed back and forth, still covering my mouth with one hand. Watching this eerie scene, Qi Ning instinctively wanted to turn her head and run away, but her feet were as if rooted, making it difficult for her to move at all. You kid, after listening to things you shouldn't have heard, you still look like you're watching a play. Do you think this is really good? I don't want to, but that's not my fault. Qi Ning's silent defense. Yes, as an outsider, it's not something he can control. What he saw and heard were all whispers from the deceased, which was not what he wanted. If you have this ability, why don't you help me with things? It saves me from being bored alone. What can I do for you? Qi Ning pondered and asked, with a sharp cut as he stretched and shrunk his head. Help me walk on earth, fulfill my vows for the deceased, and speak for the deceased. What are the consequences if I don't agree? Qin Ning tried to refuse. Then they will suck up your soul, and do it themselves. Damn it. I often walk by the river, but this time I'm in trouble. Okay, but I have to eat. Can you pay me for it? Are you crazy about making money? Do you also want dead people's money? The corners of the person's mouth in the mirror slightly raised. If I don't eat, I may be like you guys. I'll say goodbye 7 days later, but Qin Ning dare not say. That's right, I'll find a way to solve it. Now, you go to Sioux County first. With only over 200 in his pocket, Qin Ning embarked on the road to Sioux County. After graduating for a long time without finding a job, he is still struggling to survive outside. Sigh. Talking too much is like tears. What should I do? Please give me a hint, Qin Ning whispered in the corner outside the station. There was no response this time, but the shadow pulled his right hand into his pocket and took out his phone. What is this for? Qin Ning habitually glanced at her phone screen. 7 Zhou Mu. Zhao Qing from Sioux County, find his family. The text on his phone surprised him, 7 Zhou Mu. I still have some understanding of the games I have played. He was truly fascinated for a while, repeating day and night in a cycle. After falling asleep all the way, Qin Ning woke up and prepared before getting off the bus, reminded by the ticket seller. Prepare a fart. Apart from the tattered wallet with over 140 yuan left, he only carried a step of his phone. I used to hold my hands in my pockets, but now it's still the same. Dragging and stomping out of the station, Qin Ning walked in a direction. He had his phone with headphones plugged in and kept it in his pocket. He used to stare at the screen of his phone from time to time while talking, which always made others feel that he was a bit nervous. He even wore headphones and could hear it. Zhao Cheng's home is located in the southeast corner of the county, in an ordinary rural courtyard, clean and tidy. Is anyone there? Qin Ning politely knocked on the door. Who are you looking for? A middle-aged woman stood at the entrance of the courtyard, asking with some confusion. I'm Zhao Cheng's colleague, come and see him for the last time. Qin Ning repeated the previously planned statement. The middle-aged woman couldn't conceal her grief and quickly welcomed Qin Ning in. The courtyard door was always open, and as a guest, one should know how to get the host's permission and know how to knock on the door. The courtyard is lined with wreaths on both sides, writing mourning for the deceased. There are many people helping in the house, including relatives but mostly neighbors, with simple local customs. Young generation, isn't Zhao Cheng's colleague only arriving tomorrow? Asked an old man with a silver beard. This is my dad, the woman said. Oh, old man, Zhao Cheng and I have some friendship. We came early in a hurry to rest, Qin Ning explained. As usual, incense hall paper is used, which is a term used by rural people, commonly known as burning paper money. Sister-in-law, Zhao Cheng asked me to tell you something. Can I talk to you alone? Qin Ning tried her best to show her sincerity, so as not to make people feel ill-intentioned. Upon hearing the instructions from her own man, the woman's eyes turned red and she nodded as she walked to the well in the yard with Qin Ning. Lirong, I owe you too much in my life. Qin Ning repeated as she listened to the prompts in her earphones. At first, as soon as Lirong was spoken, the woman felt a bit impatient and unbelievable. Then, listening to Qin Ning's words behind her, tears flowed uncontrollably from her eyes. Chapter 2. Mysterious Mobile Phone. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. With Qin Ning's help, Zhao Cheng revealed his every detail, his attachment to his family, his love for his wife, and his reluctance to part with his children. The woman named Lirong cried silently, and Qin Ning also felt the heaviness. It was like first-person acting, and he waited silently. Waiting is a long process. For a long time, the woman stopped crying and took Qin Ning to her parents' house, revealing Qin Ning's intentions. The old couple couldn't help but cry, and only the child didn't understand why everyone was crying and wiping away their mother's tears. "Old man, I've already brought it, so I'll leave first." Qin Ning couldn't bear to see these and wanted to leave as soon as possible. "Young man, thank you for coming all the way to report, aren't you a local?" The old man's eyes were filled with tears. "Well, I live in Lincheng." The old man lowered his head and trembled as he took out the money from his arms. "Take it for the road," he said, looking at the money handed to him, a thick stack of neatly stacked coins with different denominations. Qin Ning fell silent. The station in Su County. Qin Ning bid farewell to the Zhao family and walked into the station. "I said, are you stupid? You don't even want to give you money." A lively voice came from the earphones. "I can't bear to take it. This is not a matter of more or less money, it is a matter of perseverance in life and work. Qin Ning does not have a wealthy family to offer love, so it is even more impossible to ask for any money." "Oh, then you're quite generous." I gave the little 100 yuan to him. He. Qin Ning smiled indifferently and remained silent. "How are you going back now?" "This." There was no fare for the journey back, and Qin Ning reluctantly pouted without any regrets. "Eat something first, if it doesn't work out, just walk back and forget it." Qin Ning thought. Eating the cheapest vegetarian noodles and listening to the mockery in his ear, Qin Ning felt even more unable to eat it. "Are you really planning to walk back?" The annoying voice rang out again. "Well, that's pretty good. At least I feel better in my heart," Qin Ning said to herself with self-deprecation. "Really, if you have money on your phone, take it and buy a ticket. Remember to pay me back in the future." With a settled place, Qin Ning breathed a sigh of relief. "Walking back here, it will take a long time. What's your name?" "I haven't asked yet," Qin Ning said as she waited for the car, looking at the ample time. "Cold clothes." There was a feeling of reluctance. "How can I give you money in the future?" Qin Ning thought to herself, "You can't use it anymore, why not, don't even think about it." Han Yi scolded angrily. "Okay. Well, I won't say it anymore, my phone is running out of battery." Looking at the low battery prompt, Qin Ning was about to remove the earphones. Then he was somewhat surprised to see a small hand erase the battery icon from his phone. What operation is this? The mobile phone is undergoing visible changes to the naked eye, gradually transforming into an unfamiliar appearance. It looks a bit grand and heavy, but when held in hand, it doesn't carry much weight. It's all black and has a relief skull that occupies 2/3 of the back shell. Qin Ning thinks it's great. Subsequently, under the guidance of Hani, he began to become familiar with it. This phone has normal functions, but in order to receive tasks assigned by Hani, it still needs to be unlocked by Qin Ning's fingerprint. There is no limit to electricity or phone bills, Qin Ning smiled bitterly. I am alone and have no one to talk to. Ah do, the sound of text messages is ringing. It's quite fashionable. Qin Ning thought of opening it. Your bank card has received 100,000 yuan. Cold clothes, this is not fun. Qin Ning felt that it was a prank. Take a look at the signature. Source: Zhao Cheng. Is this a ghost coin? Qin Ning felt a bit uncomfortable. Can you buy a car ticket with your family's cryptocurrency? Cold clothes are a bit unhappy. Qin Ning awkwardly looked at those 100,000 words, drooling. But Hani told him that the reward this time was 1,000, and he still had to remember to repay her. 1%. But when he thought about the terrifying exchange rate of the underworld coins, he was relieved again, it was over 1,000. So it looks good too. Qin Ning's mood improved. Is this considered finished? Qin Ning returned to the small nest. Well, I'll handle the rest, but if you want to make more money, you can also take care of it, said Han Yi's voice from her phone. What else will happen next? I'm not doing it for money. No way. Qin Ning asked solemnly. Go find Zhao Cheng and help him relieve himself in 7 days. I don't have the ability, I can't do this, Qin Ning said with some regret. Put your phone in the palm of your right hand, it's just as fun for you. Han Yi smiled strangely. Looking at the phone on his right hand without any reaction, Qin Ning thought that he might have been deceived again, but in an instant, there were waves of burning pain in his palm, accompanied by wisps of black mist rising. Qin Ning let out a scream and quickly wanted to shake off her phone, but it seemed to take root, firmly stuck to her hand. After struggling for a while, Qin Ning finally broke free from the control of the phone. She quickly looked into her palm, and the skull on the back of the phone was imprinted in flesh and blood. The color was dark, and the skull's eyes had 2 crimson dots, very subtle. What is this? Qin Ning was shocked. This is the binding ghost seal, which can be considered a simple entrance to hell, said Han Yi with a relaxed tone. The legendary ghost gate. Qin Ning doesn't feel very real. Zhaoshuyuan.com, are you a ghost? What level of official residence are you? You'll know about this in the future, right now. You're just a temporary one. Han Yi didn't want to say much. Temporary worker, these 3 words immediately came to Qin Ning's mind. Why is this job available everywhere? It's really true that heaven and hell are only separated by a thin line. Looking at the imprint on the palm of his hand, Qin Ning felt a bit dazed. The 7-day deadline has arrived, and night has fallen. Qin Ning, as usual, activated the viewing mode. Suddenly, someone came to his side and sat down, carefully scrutinizing him. You're tired of living. You came to see me so early. Qin Ning was full of confidence and was also a temporary worker. Shao sample, see what you can do. The person couldn't help but laugh. Remember not to miss time before midnight. Looking at Zhao Cheng in the crowd, he was no longer silent. Perhaps he knew that time was coming and was talking to a few close friends. Qin Ning sat quietly in the corner, leaving this last moment for him. At the end of the day, Zhao Cheng walked over and smiled calmly. Nodding slightly, Qin Ning opened his right 5 fingers and then shook them. The door formed by a ghost face in front of him opened, and its wide mouth was like a black hole, shrouded in black mist and shrouded in a dancing energy. Zhao Cheng too stepped in without looking back and disappeared. His "thank you" before leaving made Qin Ning feel a bit confused. Alas, life is like this. Let's go, they can see you now. It's not good for you after a long time. Is there any problem? You are alive, they can consume your yang energy. Damn it. Qin Ning left cursing and running away. Chapter 3. Lincheng Evening News. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qin Ning, who was idle, lazily scrolled through her phone to pass the time. A news caught his attention. The news comes from the Lincheng Evening News, where a man personally killed his wife and jumped off a building with his young son to commit suicide. An insider claimed that the tragedy was caused by the man's mental abnormality. For a moment, the comments section criticized the man for being inhumane, mourning for the deceased, and various people who think they have strong legal awareness are analyzing and summarizing. Why bother? Why bother? Qin Ning felt a bit angry in her heart, using the pain of others to refresh her own cognition, even to ridicule her reputation. There were too many people who wanted to become famous and make a name for themselves. This tragic ending forged them and became their stepping stone. Even a little bit of sadness and sympathy is gone, it's not about oneself, and in the midst of eloquence, it criticizes the heavens. He shut down the website in disgust and sighed softly. There is another text message prompt. Qin Ning picked up her phone. Principal. Gu Hai, the conclusion of the suicide incident in Miling Town. A pleasant sound sounded, and even without looking, Qin Ning knew the content of this mission. But he can't relax at all. Cold clothes, how many such things happen every day, can we manage them? Qi Ning said with some confusion. Where is your profession? Don't talk too much. It seems that this is within one's own jurisdiction. Qi Ning thought, The ghost of area control should be called residential area of Miling Town. After a day of fermentation, this place has returned to its usual calmness. Under the quiet moonlight, tall buildings stand tall, and the lakeside of pavilions is very pleasant. Qi Ning walked towards the scene of the accident, and those who could afford to live in high-level buildings were not short of money. Because the door of the resident who had an accident had already been sealed off, he could only stand downstairs and see if he could gain anything. Cold clothes, where did Gu Hai die? Qi Ning asked as she looked around. That's where you're standing now. Qi Ning immediately jumped out for a long distance, as if something had bitten him. He was calming down when cries came in his ears. Qi Ning looked at the position where he had just stood, where a burly man lay, crying coming from his arms. The weak and helpless cries were intermittent, and a small figure appeared, gently pushing the man's arm and wiping away tears. As Qi Ning approached, the child opened their arms and protected the man. What's your name, little one? My name is Guogua. A child of 3 or 4 years old can say their name, indicating that they are very intelligent. Gu Hai, get up, let's talk. Qi Ning felt a little unhappy when he saw that the man had not yet woken up. Following Gu Hai's gaze, Qi Ning was taken aback. At the window on the 18th floor, there stood a woman in white, staring at him with a burning gaze. Even at such a distance, he could still see her pale, bloodless cheeks clearly. I'm a bit hesitant, Grandma. Qi Ning's face was ablaze with flames. He turned his head and sat down in a pavilion, whispering, Are you coming over by yourself, or are you waiting for me to invite you? The three of them entered the pavilion one after another, but did not sit down. They stood straight there. Gu Hai, what's going on? Qi Ning asked. Gu Hai had a gloomy expression on his face, and his deep voice told the story of what had happened. Gu Hai was originally a senior executive of a company. Due to his social circle, he met Kai Jing and they fell in love. They were a perfect couple and soon got married. The birth of Guogua made these two even more delighted. The working environment of the two makes them lack care for their children, and the most common thing they hear is, why don't you go? As a wife, there is also a lot of socializing, so many rumors and gossip have come to Gu Hai's ears. Over time, their relationship gradually became cold, until Gu Hai returned home the night before yesterday and found that Guogua had not been picked up yet, leaving him in the guard room of the kindergarten. He couldn't help but yell at Kai Jing, who came back late at night. After quarreling, he seemed to have made a decision. He rushed into the kitchen, picked up the knife, and did something irreparable. He picked up his son who was still sleeping. He opened the French window and jumped down. Gu Hai, do you regret it now? Qi Ning asked seriously. He wants to know if there is any relief or regret after someone dies. Gu Hai hugged his head and burst into tears, but couldn't shed a single tear. Many rumors and gossip are purposeful. Whether your wife loves you or not, you know for yourself that the future of Guogua is not something you can decide, even if you are his father. Qi Ning's heart was filled with anger, and he remained calm in his anger. He did not speak clearly and lacked the consciousness that a husband and father should have. He's too strong. Everyone under his command has grievances and gossip, which is common, but he just doesn't believe in me or our family. The woman held the child and sobbed. The human heart is unpredictable, and you should also think about who would do such a thing. That's all I have to say. Give you a day, and then I'll take you on the road. Qi Ning left without looking back. The next morning, the news section was fried again. The executives of a certain company under a certain group have resigned, and several employees have been laid off. Some insiders also claimed that it may be related to the suicide of former executives. Qin Ning shook her head. Your heart has caused others to pay such a great price, and this outcome can be easily erased. Unfortunately, you are still human. Otherwise, I will show you some color. How about it? Do you feel that sometimes talent is the scariest thing? Han Yi asked jokingly. Hee, even if there are many good people gathered together, they will still stand out as unique, gradually spreading their darkness like ink in water. Zhaoshuyuan.com. Qin Ning smiled bitterly, without refuting or saying anything. Cold clothes, how can Gu Hai's family of 3 solve this problem? Qin Ning didn't want to continue the topic and asked out loud. The woman and child are sent away, and the man's soul is scattered directly. The tone of the cold clothes was cold. Break it up. There's no other way. Sending it off is also possible, but it needs to be approved and read. Han Yi thought for a moment and said. Are you not proficient in this business? Why have you been thinking for so long? Qin Ning was speechless. Cough, newbie. It's inevitable. Nima, I'm still a novice temporary worker. Night falls. In the old place, 1 person and 3 ghosts gathered again. The matter has been resolved, and you can't blame anyone else. If you don't know how to solve your own problems, blindly suspecting will eventually lead to this bitter fruit. Qin Ning sighed. The door to hell was opened, and the woman held the child, wanting to help the man enter together. Gu Hai, all the consequences will ultimately have to be calculated. Qin Ning reached out and grabbed Gu Hai. Don't hurt my dad. No. Please. Qin Ning did not stop. This was the last thing he did for this family of 3, to preserve the man's soul and let them leave together. The skull in the palm of his hand had 2 red rays intertwined in his eyes, imprinted on Gu Hai's forehead. At this moment, Gu Hai stood still, staring blankly at his wife and children. Then with a dismal smile, he put his son into his wife's arms and picked her up. The family of 3 stepped into the door. There is no medicine for regret in the world. Have you ever understood this? Qin Ning breathed a sigh of relief and looked at the peaceful night scenery, without leaving for a long time. Chapter 4. Evil Mansion, 1. You are listening at novelfull.audio. After the erosion of time, the heaviness in my heart has dissipated. Qin Ning thought to herself that I am indeed a strong person who can control my emotions. What news are you scrolling through? Han Yi sneered. Sigh. A news headline. The uninhabited haunted mansion was publicly auctioned off, with a starting price of 20,000 yuan and a final transaction of 1.5 million yuan. There are so many people seeking excitement these days, I can't even resist leaving me alone. Qin Ning couldn't help but shudder at the thought. Look at your cowardly behavior, I would have bought it even if it were me. It's cheap yet no one bothers me, said Han Yi disdainfully. No one bothers, but there is I'm taking care of him, then it's okay. Idle is also idle, go find a haunted house to play with. Han Yi suggested. Qin Ning was also somewhat moved and quickly opened her phone to search. Just you. Chengnan Villa area. For Qin Ning, who was young, ghost houses, and black houses were equated. He remembers very clearly when he was young. One time, his good friend Little Fatty told him to go to his friend's house to play on Sunday. At that time, there was a good bicycle in the farm, and Little Fatty took it out to ride. You know the universal riding method of the 2/8 bar. When he arrived at his friend's doorstep and saw his father eating at the door, he asked if he was at home and said to play together today. His friend's father said he wasn't there and asked if he had eaten or not. The chubby boy didn't eat when he heard his friend was not at home. The next day at school, the chubby boy questioned his friend why he was lying to him. His friend said he had been waiting for you all day and you hadn't come. The chubby boy directly said that he saw his father eating, but he said he wasn't at home. My friend asked, is it Saozi noodles? The chubby boy nodded, and his friend continued, saying that his father had passed away for over 2 years, and his favorite food was sousy noodles. This became a shadow of his childhood, and he couldn't leave for a long time. Having gone through all the terrifying memories in his mind, Qin Ning had already arrived at the villa area in the south of the city. A 3-story villa in the north corner is quite famous here. The family of 3 who used to live there was a man who jumped off the roof, which was supposed to be a bit low in height, but he still died. The woman died in the house, and no reason can be found. The house has been abandoned for less than half a year, and no one is willing to buy it to live in. The surrounding villas are all affected, and few are lit up. Cold clothes, do you think I'm in danger? Qin Ning asked again to be on the safe side. What a coward. Really? I'm not even afraid of you as a big man. What are you afraid of? Han Yi scolded angrily, being asked countless times along the way, and she was extremely annoyed. Looking at the seal on the door, Qin Ning was struggling to get in. Tearing it off might cause unnecessary trouble. For example, neighbors are shocked. The long-lost old neighbor has returned. Brave and fearless of death. The inauspicious mansion welcomes its first uninvited guest in 10 years. Are you all bored? Han Yi was annoyed. The third window on the right side is not locked. Qin Ning casually opened the window and crawled in. Everything inside gives the first impression that this house is occupied. The floor and table are spotless, the flowers and plants on the balcony are lush, and there are several unknown fish swimming freely in the fish tank. Qin Ning arrived at the second floor and casually opened a room, deepening his suspicion. There were indeed residents here, but what were they living in? Qin Ning felt a chill rising from the soles of his feet towards the spiritual cover. Cold clothes, let's withdraw. Qin Ning asked in a weak voice. Without a response, Qin Ning immediately panicked. At this moment, in the corner of his eyes, he saw a figure on the first floor, walking elegantly towards the kitchen, where Qin Ning had just visited. He was about to chase after him when he heard the sound of his leather shoes stomping on the wooden floor and passing over his head from the third floor. It's not that the sound insulation effect is poor, it's too quiet, and Qin Ning is afraid. I heard it very clearly. The footsteps downstairs came out of the kitchen, returned to the living room, and then there was no more movement. Qin Ning rushed over and saw a woman leaning against the sofa. He was about to get closer when suddenly a dull sound of heavy objects landing came from outside the window. Due to being close to the window, Qin Ning could look up and see a man in a suit and leather shoes lying on the ground in a strange posture, motionless. Even if Qin Ning had never seen the owner of the house, she realized that this was a scene from over a decade ago. He was stunned when the woman's body disappeared, and so did the one outside the window. 15 minutes later, the scene just now reappeared. Qin Ning felt as if he was trapped in a dead cycle. In order to confirm whether it was just a residual image, he gradually became bold and stood at the window, where he could directly see the sofa in the living room. Until the 7th time, when the woman passed by Qin Ning, her empty and lifeless eyes glanced at him. Qin Ning's heart sank as it exceeded the scope of his response, and his cognition was overturned. Because he sensed that what was in front of him was not a ghost, but mechanically repeating the last moment of his life. And his intervention seems to have disrupted this delicate balance. As time passed, as the woman walked out of the kitchen, her eyes were fixed on Qin Ning, and the man outside the window no longer maintained a position facing the floor. She turned her head to look at him at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. Qin Ning's face was calm, but his heart was like a boiling pot. Without the support of Han Yi, he could only scream for help. Because in order to try, he was standing in the unlocked window. With the passage of time, women no longer lie on the sofa and are getting closer and closer to him. The man outside the window stood outside at some point, staring at him intently. It seems strange. If it continues like this, I probably will get cold. Qi Ning gave a rare laugh and planned to return on the same path before the next one. Because as the number of repetitions accumulates, the gap time in between becomes shorter and shorter. Opening the window and jumping out, I estimate it won't take me a second. Thinking of this, Qi Ning gained some confidence and relaxed slightly, preparing to retreat, run away. But when he regained his senses, his whole body stiffened, and his clothes on the back seemed to be soaked in cold sweat in an instant. The woman stood 3 steps away from him, still staring at him intently. On the window glass, there was a twisted face of the man, with his hands pressed on both sides, as if he would break through the glass and crawl in the next moment. Did you miss your last chance after thinking for too long? Qi Ning's emotions, which had just turned around, were once again on the brink of losing control. 2/4 of an hour of agony, in exchange for that, the woman was only 1 step away from him, and Qi Ning could see his pale and desperate face in the other person's eyes. The window was already halfway open, and the man's head had already reached in. Due to Qi Ning's pressing, his hands were temporarily used to support him, but he had not been able to reach in yet. Qi Ning realized that the final moment is coming. Chapter 5. Fierce Mansion, 2. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Time seems to have stopped at this moment. A chill permeated in my heart, even my blood was eroded, sweeping the bone-chilling cold all over my body. The imprint on the palm of Qi Ning's hand sent out waves of burning pain, and strands of black mist turned into threads, moving up Qi Ning's arm and stopping at the position of his heart. At this moment, Qi Ning felt as if she had been soaked, with cold sweat mixed with the burning pain of her entire arm and heart, like a scorching fire. A roar shattered the tranquility of the moment. Qi Ning lifted his pitch-black right hand and gently pressed it, causing the window to close again, allowing the man's body, which had been cut in two, to struggle and wriggle. He bent his fingers and effortlessly crushed the man's head. Withdrawing his hand, Qi Ning stood up and grabbed the woman again. The distance is so close that he doesn't even need to take another step forward. Want my life. You guys are so brave. A strange voice came from Qi Ning's mouth, unable to distinguish whether it was a man or a woman. The voice was low and deep, as if it came from the depths of hell. With the force between the fingers, the surrounding scenery shattered like a mirror and dissipated into smoke. Everything inside the house has changed, no longer the windows are bright, clean, and spotless. A decade of dust has swept over my face. The air is filled with a smell of decay, from flowers and plants, as well as from the mottled dry marks in the fish tank, and those unknown fish skeletons. Come out. Every step Qi Ning takes brings a lot of dust, leaving clear footprints. There was silence all around. Qi Ning crouched down, with a strange smile on the corner of her mouth, and pressed her right hand heavily against the floor. Black mist sprayed out from his arms, spreading around him. The whole house fell into hell for a moment. Qi Ning slowly got up and walked towards the corner of the storage room. As she walked, she waved her right hand and a door appeared on the wall there. It was torn apart by his waving. Strange laughter rang out again, and Qi Ning walked slowly down the stairs. The light around him was dim, not comparable to his black eyes. The dark basement was empty and without any abnormalities. Take a picture. Qi Ning imprinted his left hand, lifted it with his right hand, and then pressed it down. Two blurry shadows struggled to appear before his eyes. The woman was dressed brilliantly, accentuating her snow-white face, her black lips, and a pair of hollow eyes that were round and wide, her mouth emitting low growls. The man had a lively gaze, dodging Qi Ning while his fingernails were gradually elongating. I didn't expect to catch a big fish, what a surprise. Qi Ning gave a charming smile. The man's ghost had spiritual intelligence and a strong cultivation. Over the course of more than 10 years, it made him even stronger. Cold clothes, long time no see. The man smiled grimly without any panic. I said you've been hiding for so many years and thought you could be very capable, but now it seems like that's all. Do you have anything else to say now? Qi Ning waved a chair and it appeared. He sat down casually, crossing his legs. This is my business, you don't need to intervene, and now I'm not afraid of you either. You can give it a try. The man sneered and slowly raised his hands, revealing his sharp nails. As a law enforcement officer, are you taking this step with the intention of completely breaking free? Qi Ning covered her mouth and chuckled lightly. He shook his right hand and slowly lifted the man into the air. Sharp nails pierced his arm, the black mist dissipated, and there was no substantial damage. Last words, oh. I forgot you've already died once, let's skip it. Qi Ning exerted force on his right hand and crushed the man like a porcelain doll. How naive of you to deal with your peers with such means. The man's body is illusory, dissipating like smoke. Tie it up. Qi Ning elegantly snapped her fingers, and the scenery around her was like a rewind. The man appeared again, looking at him with a determined expression. No longer wasting time, Qi Ning opened the door to hell with his 5 fingers together, his face opened its mouth, and a suction force pulled the man in, ready to pull it in. The man disdainfully smiled and hugged his chest with both hands, looking like he was watching a play. What he didn't notice was that the ghost face spat out black threads, silently entwining him and tightening bit by bit. The man discovered it, but it was already late. He was gradually pulled towards hell, struggling hard to obtain more black threads, covering him completely and pulling him into the door. The woman watched helplessly, with no choice but to let out a low growl. She could only keep shaking her head, and in the end, all she could do was plead. Your death was caused by him, are you still pleading for him now? Qi Ning said inexplicably. I know everything about it. Without him, I died 20 years ago. He has been with me, here with me. There is no one but him who is genuinely sincere to me, which may seem ridiculous to you, but he is everything to me. My world is so small that it's just him. The woman screamed hysterically, then laughed and cried. Can we only survive according to your will? It's really ridiculous. Can you influence his people? Can you influence his heart by looking for Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com? What else can you do besides life and death? What are you saying? You're talking. Qi Ning frowned, feeling a bit unhappy. This was not something he or she could decide, but it was also true. If he wanted to kill the woman in front of him, he would just be a sharp knife. It seems that you already knew there would be today's ending, right? Qi Ning thought of something and suddenly asked. I knew 20 years ago that I could escape from you once, this time, still. The woman let out a strange man's voice. So, I'll see you next time. The woman waved her hand and slowly retreated, merging into the wall. How could Ren Qining be so ruthless that he couldn't keep him this time? To be precise, it should be them. Sigh. After a leisurely sigh, Qi Ning's eyes returned to normal. She only glanced around before falling to the ground. I said, big sister. Can you stand up first after you finish? I can't sit in this chair, Qi Ning complained. Although he didn't participate independently, he saw everything that happened. The only thing he was involved in was the imprint on his left hand, and when he remembered it, it was so delightful. Being able to understand his thoughts, Han pouted and said, have you seen too many fire shadows? So, when it's crucial, do you still have the heart to deal with those things that are not there? Hey! Qi Ning is not happy about this. What are you saying? I like to watch Hokage, but the seal is not unique to those who live well in their childhood. Taoism has advanced them for countless lifetimes. Let me tell you, they are cheating. I'm too lazy to talk to you. Let's go and take a look around. If it's good, I'll buy it, said Han, setting aside the topic. Okay. Get up. Chapter 6. Classmates Gathering. You are listening at Novel Full. Audio. It has to be said that the scenery in the villa area is really good. Qin Ning ran up and down with excitement in her heart. He didn't ask if those two would come back after the incident, which is not something he can know now. He wisely kept silent. Overall, the house was only vacant for a long time, and there were no other issues. The environment was also quite good for Qin Ning. The rest of the matter was left to Qin Ning to handle. The agent was grateful and invited the buyer to the sales department to serve, promising to sell the house at the lowest price and providing free cleaning and painting if the transaction was completed. Leave your contact information. Qin Ning walked away with a step that he didn't recognize. A classmate who hasn't been in touch for a long time invited Qin Ning to come out and play. I thought my friends were still thinking about me, but to my surprise, there was going to be some classmate gathering. Qin Ning instinctively wanted to refuse, because in his view, classmate gatherings were just a special event for successful people, with a certain mentality of comparison. Men are more than money, women are more than husbands, and secondly, they can be compared to clothing, jewelry, cars, and even mistresses. He had to give face to his friends, but during school, he was the only one who could become a buddy. Oh, did I embarrass myself by going to this poor and destitute place? Qin Ning thought to herself that there were many people who looked down upon him before, let alone after entering society. He couldn't help but shiver at the thought of staying in that situation. The classmate gathering was scheduled 3 days later, but Qin Ning was not notified in advance because he was local. To celebrate the first gathering, the initiator did not choose a hotel as the location, but instead chose a popular resort. 3 days passed, and Qin Ning, dressed in casual attire, took a taxi to her destination. Rose Villa. A 2-hour drive, Qin Ning stands at the entrance of the mountain villa. Leaving aside the interior of the villa, just looking at the bustling parking lots on both sides of the main entrance reveals a glimpse. The villa does not have attic-style buildings, and perhaps due to the influence of homestay style, it adopts modern folk-style farmhouses and courtyards. Didi the car horn sounded and a head popped out of a black Honda sedan, shouting, "Anning." Lu Wenhao, nicknamed Mouse, has a fat head and big ears. This is Qin Ning's friend in school and also the initiator of his childhood shadow, the chubby little guy back then. "Mouse, long time no see, you're gaining weight again." Qin Ning joked and sat in the car. The car slowly drove inward. "Anning, how have you been lately? What are you busy with?" Lu Wenhao took out a cigarette and handed it over. Qin Ning knows how to smoke, but he smokes less. He takes it with a smile and ignites it. As soon as he takes a puff, he feels a bit chest tightness and nausea. Damn it. Not smoking for a long time, I feel a bit uncomfortable with the local environment. "Your sisters." "I didn't do anything, I had nothing to do when I was idle." Qin Ning had no reservations about the mouse. "What about you? How are you doing now?" I inherited my father's property and usually collect rent, so I basically lie flat." Lu Wenhao reached out and flicked a cigarette ash outside the car window. Yo. "The landlady." Qin Ning deliberately said, "Why is there no water again?" Anning, I've been playing with you since I was young, and your personality is still the same." Lu Wenhao choked on saliva and kept coughing. At the designated entrance of the small courtyard, it took a lot of time just to park. Firstly, Lu Wenhao's skills were not good, and secondly, the parking spaces were full. Qin Ning and his wife walked into the courtyard and found that many people had already arrived. Some deliberately divided into several circles and chatted enthusiastically. Lu Wenhao is also considered a wealthy person with his own social circle. After talking to Qin Ning for a few words, he walked towards others. Qin Ning found a chair, faced the door, and sat down. "Cold clothes, I regret coming here. Orphan players are really difficult." Qin Ning rubbed her brows and said. Even if you don't speak up, I can still hear you. Don't make others think you're a fool. Han Yi's tone was full of teasing. Can you know what I'm thinking in my heart? Qin Ning's face looked a bit ugly and she quickly sought confirmation. Well, for example, if she can't spend money, why not give it to me? If only I had this 100,000 yuan. Sister, I don't want to work hard anymore. Hani flipped through old accounts one by one. Okay. Please. Stop talking. Qin Ning quickly covered her face and begged. Oh, isn't this Qin Ning? I can recognize him at a glance even after a few years of not seeing him. A strange voice sounded. As a rare and wealthy student in school, Li Ku is the focus of his classmates. He has a company at home, a wide network of contacts, and truly has a mine at home. Without any explanation, Qin Ning just waved his hand and ignored it. Humph. That kid is as crazy as ever, not even giving face to Li Xiao. Forget it, they are already very insightful and haven't come over. You can say a few words less. Ignoring the others, Li Ku's face looked a bit unsightly, and then the corners of his mouth curled up with a malicious smile. At noon, except for a few people from other places and those who went abroad, everyone else arrived. As a representative and initiator of this event, the class monitor warmly and politely treated everyone. Due to fear of Qin Ning leaving early, Lu Wenhao sat with him after greeting everyone. As it was a reservation, lunch was quickly served. Looking at the stranger-like table, Qin Ning symbolically took 2 bites and stood up to walk towards the pavilion. Not long after, Lu Wenhao followed along with the seemingly endless cigarettes he couldn't finish smoking. The two of them didn't make contact with anyone else until it was dark, sitting together and swallowing clouds and mist. The night is getting darker, and the lanterns are beginning to shine. Everyone, we've already talked about it. How about playing a game? Someone suggested. The class monitor immediately grasped the key points, although asking for everyone's opinions, his eyes only looked at a few individuals, such as Li Ku. Sure, but I don't need outdated games anymore. I heard there's a haunted house on the back mountain of the villa, and most tourists who come here to find the book garden www.zhaoshuyuan.com are heading for it. The class monitor is not inferior to his talent in managing the class. The boys all cheered, while the girls were full of curiosity and some excitement. Okay, as long as someone can play from scratch and complete the level, I will be responsible for their expenses this time. When Li Keishi spoke up, in his opinion, some people would not be able to afford the AA system, and at this point, the opportunity to become a saint came. Ghost houses are built along the mountain, adding fun while also saving a lot of land. Good people began to form a group, with Qin Ning being the least number. After entering from the entrance, the well-connected paths divided the crowd. Choosing a path with fewer people, Qin Ning and Lu Wenhao also walked in. The dim light, accompanied by occasional screams, and the background music made people's scalp tingle. They wanted to cover their ears, but were afraid of missing any noise, which frightened them even more. They could only hope that there would be no sudden attacks from the corners and walls. Mouse, are you afraid? Qin Ning turned around and asked. Lu Wenhao was immediately inspired. You kid did it on purpose. You scared me to death. Lu Wenhao had been paying attention to his surroundings and was greatly frightened by Qin Ning's cold words. Hee, coward, keep up with me. With me around, you don't have to be afraid. Qin Ning comfortingly patted his shoulder and felt his brother's body trembling like a sieve. Anning, I'll pay for it. Let's go back. Go back on your own, I'm not as cowardly as you are. Alas Anning, wait for me. Night is my home ground, orphan players need to show their strength. Qin Ning smiled brightly. Chapter 7. Brothers sleeping on the upper bed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Qin Ning, who had a great experience, really couldn't get interested in playing haunted houses at all. Listening to the occasional screams of surprise, Qin Ning walked forward expressionless. Behind them, a few people followed from a distance, scared to death while moving their steps vigorously. Li Xiao, does this kid come often? Why doesn't he feel the same? Although Li Ku was also afraid, many younger brothers followed him, deliberately showing their momentum and stabilizing their emotions. Monkey, if you ask someone to take care of you. Li Ku took out the money and asked the younger brother to enhance the gaming experience of Qin Ning and the other two. I don't know when he started to hate Qin Ning more and more. As the focal point, Qin Ning didn't buy it at all. From school to now, the two have gradually become sworn enemies. Lu Wenhao is just carrying bad luck. Qin Ning walked in a place called the Spiritual Hospital, looking at the sizzling door signs and lights, and walked in with a light smile. Under the dark red lighting effect, the hospital's furnishings appear extremely strange, with occasional sounds of opening the door. Qin Ning looked at the route guide and the next stop was to go to the underground level to obtain the list of the deceased in the morgue. He didn't explore too much and went downstairs, dragging Lu Wenhao to open the door of the morgue. The password lock is very impressive, and the fresh blood red guide on it makes it easy for Qin Ning to open it. Corrupt air rushed towards us, and the dozen or so beds in the morgue were covered with corpses of various shapes, all covered in white cloth and covered in a pit. Qin Ning walked towards the office desk in the processing room, where there was something he wanted. Lu Wenhao's footsteps were difficult to move, so he stood at the door. As long as someone from any bed stood up, he could immediately run out. Qin Ning received the list and did not leave, but stood there to take a look. Ha! At the end of the list, there are two new additions. Qin Ning and Lu Wenhao. If you want to play, you should be professional, Qin Ning roast. The fonts are different, obviously they were added temporarily. The title of the list is also very interesting, called the Life and Death Book. Qin Ning, who was trying to suppress evil interests and make trouble, heard Lu Wenhao's screams. At this moment, Lu Wenhao was completely exhausted. He watched the evil ghost walking in outside the door and kept retreating. Finally, he tripped over his chair and crawled towards Qin Ning, who had walked out of the processing room. Brother. That's about it, don't scare my buddies to pee, Qin Ning said out of place. The evil ghost was taken aback, nodded, and slowly made way. Brothers of 3 beds, 7 beds, and 11 beds, don't get up either. Take a rest, Qin Ning said with a light smile. Lu Wenhao was dragged out like a dead dog, leaving a long wet mark. Mouse, it's all fake. I've tightened your faucet. Qin Ning couldn't help but laugh. Your sister. Anning, don't say it out loud. Lu Wenhao looked embarrassed, but more importantly, he felt a sense of relief from the disaster. Once they receive the clearance documents, the two can directly go to the entrance called Hell Road, where all their clearance players will meet again. Sitting in the pitch-black forest of rocks, Qin Ning boredly asked Lu Wenhao for a cigarette, but was told that he had been taken away when he entered. Half an hour later, the students at the entrance of Hell Road met again. The number of people who came this time has decreased significantly, with only 12 remaining from 30.9 people. It is worth mentioning that 3 girls have also come here. Kuo Shaoli can easily pass the level with his money ability. Everyone straightened up and walked into the next level together. Hell's Road begins with a dark and rocky jungle path, gradually leading to the Naiha Bridge and then to the final 18 layers of hell. Everyone walked onto the bridge, and the Nyo Tu Ma Mian, who was responsible for guiding them, kindly distributed the delicious soup produced by the beautiful Meng Pe to everyone. Qin Ning felt a bit uneasy. It was indeed a delicious soup, but she was extremely resistant in her heart. Qin Ning, if you're afraid, don't drink anymore. Wait for us to come back here. Li Ku kept an eye on it, which would directly show a look of disdain. Oh, the taste is good, is it a Minerva? My favorite. Qin Ning looked up and finished drinking, satisfied. Li Kegong took a powerful sip and choked up when he heard Qin Ning's words. According to the performance of the clearance, everyone was separated again. In Qin Ning's group, there was Shen Ni, the class flower of his school days, who was his dream lover during his student days. As the four of them walked, Qin Ning's mouth curved upwards, thinking of an interesting story. Because it was very fitting, looking at the surrounding mountains and seas of fire, he felt it was necessary to bring some fun to everyone. With the consent of several people, Qin Ning spoke confidently. The story tells of a person who dies and goes to hell. Watching various forms of torture, he is horrified. Suddenly, he sees everyone leisurely drinking coffee in a waist-deep cesspool in a prison cell. He tells the little ghost that this is the place to choose. After confirming multiple times, the little ghost locks him in. Before he had a chance to take a sip of his coffee, he tapped his cell head on the railing and shouted, "Rest time is up." Everyone continued to stand upside down. Shen Ni seemed to have a deep sense of immersion and began to retch. "Anning, you're holding back your emotions here." Lu Wenhao laughed and cursed. The other person accompanying him was Li Ke's younger brother, Monkey, who looked at him with a puzzled expression and remained silent. "Take a few steps back and walk in the other direction." Enough joking. Ignoring the monkey's farewell without saying goodbye, the three of them resumed their journey and experienced various punishments along the way, enjoying themselves. Due to Lu Wenhao's plump physique, Shen Ni was very close to Qin Ning all the way, which made Qin Ning very happy. "Qin Ning, there are bloodstains ahead." Han Yi spoke out as a reminder. Zhaoshuyuan.com, it's not normal to have no bloodstains. Qin Ning said indifferently. "It's human blood, very fresh," Han Yi said again. Qin Ning realized that there might really be a problem and hurried forward. At the corner of the corridor, a bright red blood mark spread far and disappeared into the next corner. The smell of blood is strong, and the blood has not dried up yet. Qin Ning had a bad premonition and quickly asked Shen Ni and Lu Wenhao to follow closely and not fall behind. "Anning, what's going on?" Lu Wenhao said, feeling a little accustomed and puzzled. It was not Qin Ning who answered him, but Shen Ni. As a medical worker, she also noticed the abnormality immediately. "This is human blood. There's no need for her to say the rest. With such a large amount of blood loss, I'm afraid it's hopeless." Seeing Qin Ning walking forward along the bloodstains, Shen Ni quickly chased after her. Lu Wenhao only wanted to be Qin Ning's thigh pendant and not fall behind. "Shen Ni, the person is not dead yet. Can you handle it after I find it?" Qin Ning turned her head and asked. "How can you be certain that you haven't died yet?" Shen Ni felt that Qin Ning's behavior exceeded the scope of ordinary people. Intuition. "Come with me." Qin Ning opened the door to a room and walked straight in. At the corner of the room, there lay a black figure with a slight rise and fall in her chest, proving Qin Ning's judgment. Shen Ni quickly stepped forward to check and then took out her phone to seek help. There was no device available for her to come and save the person. But there was no signal here, so she had to shout for help towards the camera on the wall. "Who is this person?" Qin Ning felt familiar but couldn't name her. "Yu Yanbing, the brother sleeping on your upper bunk," Lu Wenhao said nervously. Chapter 8. Revealing the Undercover. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Saving people is like putting out a fire, and the evil NPC hurriedly comes carrying a stretcher. Lu Wenhao helped climb along the pole and left with the NPC. "Why don't you leave?" Qin Ning looked at Shen Ni in surprise. "Isn't it common for ordinary people to choose to stay away from right and wrong?" "I want to stay and see what's going on," Shen Ni said stubbornly. "Do you believe there are ghosts in this world?" Qin Ning said playfully. "I don't believe it, just now it seemed artificial." Shen Ni had strong confidence in her academic background. Qin Ning walked forward with a smile, where something caught his attention. Due to the dried blood, a line of footprints faintly extended to a dark room entrance and disappeared. Qin Ning was about to open the door, but Shen Enai grabbed him and handed him a wooden stick that she had found temporarily. Qin Ningxin said that I thought you would be afraid, but it seems that I was overthinking. The door was opened, and in the faint light inside, a figure stood motionless. Monkey, has the play finished? Qin Ning didn't go over and asked. Shen Enai was surprised, she couldn't even see whether the other person was male or female in such darkness. The monkey mechanically turned its head, but its body still turned away from them. This eerie turn of the head startled Shen Enai, but fortunately Qin Ning reached out in time and didn't fall down. Hee, you all deserve it. The monkey's voice was low, and he crawled over on all fours, saliva streaming out of his cracked mouth. Crawling in the opposite direction, the head can still turn 180 degrees, which is a bit interesting. Qin Ning lightly patted Shen Ni's small hand, and he chose to face hard. Little hands are so slippery. Qin Ning smiled and reached out his right hand, pressing it on the monkey's head and being pushed directly to the corner of the wall under his immense force. Your sister, you can't do it. The veins on Qin Ning's hand were bulging, and gradually the entire right hand was covered in black mist. The monkey seemed to realize something was wrong, turned around, ran away, and in the blink of an eye, disappeared into the darkness. Qin Ning didn't notice that Shen Enai had already arrived beside him, her beautiful eyes wide open staring at his right arm, her face pale. Being discovered by you is not a good thing, Qin Ning smirked. Let's talk about it later. After calming down, Qin Ning forcefully grabbed in one direction, and a ghostly figure was captured by him. This is Ah Piao, don't be afraid, he turned to comfort Shen Enai. He didn't say it was okay, but this statement actually had a counterproductive effect. Don't get so close to me, okay? Qin Ning said with a serious expression, feeling happy in her heart. Master, you have to make decisions for me. The ghost spoke first, causing Qin Ning to lose track of the rhythm. I am a miner from Li's company. A few days ago, there was an accident at the mine, and several brothers did not come out. The unscrupulous boss did not work and treated us as missing. I am not willing to accept it. Didn't your family go find them? So many of you are missing. Qin Ning asked in confusion. I'm going, it's useless. I can't compete with others. Qin Ning nodded and said, call your other brothers over. Except for the kid surnamed Li, everyone else here is unrelated. The ghost nodded, and in an instant, the air inside the room fell to freezing point, surrounded by people. It's too crowded, please step aside. Qin Ning was startled and scolded angrily. Shen Enai watched Qin Ning talking to herself alone, leaning even tighter. Tell my friends your names, go back and wait. I'll handle this matter and don't cause trouble anymore, Qin Ning instructed. Seeing this, he couldn't let it go. Shen Enai nervously took out her phone and wrote down the list of personnel conveyed by Qin Ning, which she couldn't see or hear. What is this? Shen Enai asked timidly. The list of the deceased is genuine and genuine. Qin Ning explained briefly. Are you playing with any other tricks? Shen Enai had some hopes, hoping to see Qin Ning laughing and saying that it was a joke, but she was disappointed. The door of the room was pushed open again, and Rick walked in with a person. Yo ha! Didn't it harm your good deeds, did it? Li Ku said with a strange tone. How could that be? Young Master Li came at the right time, and a group of brothers are waiting to see you. Qin Ning pointed to the group of ghosts next to him and chuckled. Who are you trying to scare by pretending to be a god or a ghost? One of the younger brothers stepped forward. Evil people still need to be sharpened. Qin Ning waved his hand and a group of ghosts appeared in everyone's sight. Are you still standing up for someone? Qin Ning looked at the person who had spoken earlier, and he immediately urinated. Li Ku, let me share your thoughts. Qin Ning joked. Young Master Li is like a quail at this moment, trembling uncontrollably. Then let's skip it. Go cry and complain to your father, don't stand in the way. Li Ku ignored his younger brother and crawled out the door. Human potential has been unleashed to the extreme, and he climbs very fast. The room was filled with a foul smell, which made Qin Ning have to pinch her nose and say, "Someone will explain your situation to you. You can rest assured and go on the road. It's not good for you to stay too long." Unable to let them stay any longer, this is what cold clothes meant. Qin Ning was still thinking about waiting for the matter to end, but had no choice but to open the door to hell. Everyone bowed to him and entered the entryway. Looking at everything in front of her, Shen Ni's cognition was refreshed, and even her 3 perspectives were completely destroyed. "Ah, I should leave too." Qin Ning pretended to go in. "Your hands are hot, stop acting." Shen Ni's pale face darkened slightly as she whispered. Oh. I'll leave the rest to you. Leave the list to the police to handle, and my task is completed. Qin Ning smiled lightly. Zhaoshuyuan.com, are you a human or a ghost? I'm a ghost. Who are you lying to? Don't you believe in ghosts? What else would you ask? 2 days later, in the morning newspaper, the Li Group unexpectedly made headlines. The individuals involved were executed one by one. The business of the Li family has suffered a significant blow and gradually faded out of people's vision, which is only a matter of time. You plan to never wash your hands in your lifetime, right? Han Yi sneered. You don't understand, that kind of person is not something I can climb up to. It's just a thought, I still have self-awareness. Qin Ning felt a bit disappointed. Without a house, car, or savings, wanting to eat swan meat was simply a fantasy. As long as you work hard, everything will come true. Don't give me chicken soup, I really can't drink it anymore. Qin Ning quickly stopped. Have you forgotten about that villa? I have already paid the money. With this time, why not go and take a look? Oh. I actually forgot about this mess. Qin Ning was resurrected with full blood and excitedly left the door. The feeling of being rich is really good. The villa has been cleaned up inside and outside, everything has been moved away, and the entire villa is empty. At least leave a bed, Qin Ning sighed. Buy new furniture or something, and keep the old for you to use. That's right, Qin Ning nodded. As soon as Qin Ning was about to buy something, she ran into an acquaintance. Looking at Shen Ni, who was somewhat surprised, Qin Ning felt a bit confused. Why are you here? Why are you here? After asking in unison, the two of them were stunned for a moment and both laughed. Chapter 9. Housewarming and New Year's Eve. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Shen Ni looks good today, dressed in a water blue long dress, with a lovely oval face, and Qin Ning's long hair fluttering and looking a bit dazed. You look much better today. Qin Ning felt a bit embarrassed, thinking of the dementia she had just seen and wanting to find a crack in the ground to get in. Well, thank you very much that day, Shen Ni said with a smile. After that, everyone dispersed, but I didn't expect you to slip away the fastest. Hee, that kind of occasion is not what I should go to, Qin Ning sneered helplessly. You can't say that, Shen Ni blinked and said, are you here to see the house? No, I bought a house here and planned to buy some furniture. Qin Ning felt a bit embarrassed as he didn't pay for the house. I have friends who do this, can I accompany you to take a look? Shen Ni suggested. Aren't you busy? After asking Qin Ning, she regretted. With such a good opportunity, straight man cancer has occurred again. I took a break for a while, Shen Ni said, gathering her long hair that had been blown away by the wind. Sitting in Shen Ni's luxury car, Qin Ning was truly surprised. It was a high-end item, and he had never even seen the logo. Why don't you know how to drive? Shen Ni exclaimed in surprise. Poor people can't afford it. Qin Ning said sourly. The person who can afford a villa, you cry poverty for me, who believes it? Shen and I started the car and drove towards the city area. Shen and I is not inferior to being a wealthy heiress, and everyone she knows is a big shot, Qin Ning sighed in her heart. At the third shop, a man in a suit and leather shoes warmly welcomed Shen and I upon seeing her. Miss is here. The man respectfully greeted, but his eyes were not honest. Miss, please drive here. Get out of here. Qin Ning couldn't help but open her mouth. Well, my friend wants to buy a set of furniture. Can you help me take a look? Shen and I walked confidently towards the exhibition hall. Looking at Qin Ning behind Shen and I, the man looked contemptuous. There were all high-end furniture here, and he was afraid Qin Ning wouldn't be able to afford it. He lives next door to me, said the leisurely words. The man immediately felt like a different person, extremely enthusiastic. Qin Ning didn't have much experience, so she was dizzy with choices. In the end, Shen and I made the decision. As the layout of the villas was similar, she chose a set similar to hers. Returning to the car, Shen and I couldn't help but ask, just take a good look at the furniture. What are you staring at a man for? Oh, I see his imprint turning black, Qin Ning said, that person is not right. You'd better stay away from him. Shen Ni's face immediately turned white. What tricks are you playing? Shen and I said, even she felt insecure. That person did have a problem. Qin Ning looked at him for a long time, because behind him, Qin Ning saw a faint shadow, always following the man. He couldn't explain it clearly and could only say, don't you believe it? He, returning to the old topic, Shen and I fell silent. Do I have to show off again before you can believe me? Qin Ning pondered whether to say anything more, but as he watched the car start to shake, he decisively chose to shut up. Shen and I, it's not good for you if we don't have much interaction. Qin Ning changed the topic. Why? Do you still care about others' opinions until now? Shen and I smiled with difficulty. Those who are close to red will be red, and those who are close to ink will be black. You are the only person who knows what I deal with, and I won't hide it from you. After a long time, it's not good for you. Qin Ning spoke lightly, but his heart was dripping with blood. As a loser, he also rejected the goddess one day. Shen and I nodded and left without saying goodbye until she got off the car. Ah, my youth is gone. Qin Ning was so painful that she almost screamed out. Your child has a high level of consciousness, Han Yi sneered. With a precedent in place, no matter how foolish I am, I don't want to harm anyone, Qin Ning's eyes dimmed. Yeah, it's hard for you. From then on, Honey didn't speak anymore. The next morning, the furniture company contacted Qin Ning to inspect the actual goods and confirmed that there were no objections before delivering them to their doorstep. The strange man who greeted him was He Ji, whose business card had been handed over by Qin Ning the last time he left. Everything went smoothly, Qin Ning hitchhiked back. Sure enough, it cost money. He Ji commanded the employees under his command and arranged everything in an orderly manner. After 2 full hours, it was finally settled, and He Ji left with his people after finishing. Ah, villas, I can't afford to buy anything I don't eat or drink in my lifetime. It's all like a dream, Qin Ning sighed endlessly. You go ahead and talk to me first. Han Yi helplessly reminded me. Qin Ning glanced out of the corner of her eye and saw Shen and I standing not far away in her own garden, looking over here. She suddenly felt a strong desire to die. He mechanically walked into the door and collapsed on the sofa until night fell, and Qin Ning couldn't recover. He fell asleep heartlessly until a strange noise woke him up. The window on the first floor was opened, and a group of figures rushed in. As Qin Ning stood up, he threw a knife and stabbed him. Qin Ning didn't pay attention and suddenly had a blood cut on his left arm. The knife was sharp and the bones inside the wound were clearly visible. Compared to others, Qin Ning had no advantage. He dodged and rushed towards the switch. After a few attempts, the lights lit up and the person stayed in the darkness for a long time. They were stabbed in the eye for a moment, and the attack came to a halt. Then he glanced at Qin Ning and jumped out of the window, disappearing into the darkness. Why did he stop? Isn't he in an advantageous position? Qin Ning grinned and asked. If you can't hit it with just one blow, this assassin is almost there. I'm afraid the girl across from you might call the police. Find Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com, said Han Yi, still feeling unsatisfied. Do you expect anything to happen to me? Qin Ning suddenly became unhappy. He glanced at Shen Ni, who was still sitting in the garden, tightly gripping her phone. It's even better to die, so even the food money is left. What I eat is all my own hard-earned money, can you figure it out? Qin Ning became angry. Oh. Forget it then. Stop talking nonsense and go find her quickly. What are you looking for her for? Getting into trouble with her. Qin Ning pays great attention to this detail. Before causing trouble for others, you should survive before becoming a hero, said Han Yi disdainfully. Looking at the bleeding wounds on her body, Qin Ning's face turned pale and she weakly walked out the door. She said to Shen Ni, help me, and then fainted. It was almost the next afternoon when he woke up again and found himself lying on the floor, while Shen Ni was sleeping on the sofa. Holy crap, it's unreasonable. As a patient, I received such treatment. What is your sense of responsibility as a physician? Qin Ning roared in his heart, but he didn't have the strength to speak now. She can't move you, and besides, this expensive sofa shouldn't be dirted, said Han Yi with a serious expression. Okay. You guys wait for me. Are you awake? Shen Ni only realized that Qin Ning had awakened. You slept here all night? Qin Ning asked in a hoarse voice. Yeah. I'm afraid you might have a problem. Shen Ni spoke naturally and picked up the thermometer. This used to be a notorious haunted house, it seems like I underestimated you before. Shen Ni stood up like lightning and rushed out of the door. Oh, if you die this time, there's really no way to save you, said Han Yi gloating. Chapter 10. Madam is truly beautiful. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In the following days, Qin Ning relied on takeout to make a living, while Shen Ni hid far away except for taking a glance at him in the garden. Just like this for a few days, Shen Ni called, and even though it was so close, she still chose to contact her by phone. How much money burns? Qin Ning joked. I need your help, that. Shen Ni was interrupted before she could finish speaking. What's there to say face. My phone runs out of battery. Qin Ning hung up the phone, looking proud. The two sides were deadlocked, and in the end, they could only choose the conversation location in Shen Ni's car. What's up? Qin Ning reluctantly sat in the passenger seat, accidentally pulling on the wound and grinning in pain. Shen Ni's good sisters has had an accident recently. She has had nightmares for several days. She is in good and bad condition. She seems to have changed her behavior. As a doctor, she is helpless, and her friends have privately sought daying, which has not been effective. Shen Ni first thought of Qin Ning. Are you treating me like a god? Qin Ning felt very uncomfortable. Shen Ni frowned slightly as she watched Qin Ning, hesitating to speak. Those who can afford to be close friends of wealthy families are indeed not easy, they have all moved to the central area of the city. Qin Ning and his wife were taken by the butler to a room on the second floor. At the door, the butler refused to move any further and made a gesture of invitation before leaving. Shen Ni pushed open the door, and the bedroom was dimly lit. The curtains were all closed and the lights were not turned on. On the bed lay a pale-faced girl, with a man and a woman whispering something to an old woman. Upon hearing the sound of the door opening, several people turned around and looked surprised. Shen and I came and brought someone along. Uncle and aunt, this is Qin Ning, my friend, who came to help. Shen and I greeted and introduced herself to others. Dare to mix it in before it's dry. Have you eaten the bear heart leopard gallbladder? The old woman spoke with a hoarse duckling voice. Qin Ning didn't want to come and didn't say anything. She looked directly at Shen and I, helping people without such help. At this moment, the girl on the bed woke up and began to struggle. Qin Ning then noticed that the girl was tied with hemp ropes all over her body. The girl roared low, constantly struggling. What's tied up for? Unzip it, Qin Ning said. The girl's parents were a bit embarrassed, and both sides were embarrassed. The old woman looked like she was watching a good show, laughing and laughing. Qin Ning also added an explanation and went forward to grab it with his hand, causing the hemp rope to become short and responsive. Before the girl could take any action, Qin Ning pointed at her eyebrows and the girl completely quieted down. I admit there are many talented people and extraordinary people in the world, but you can't be considered one. Without looking back, Qin Ning directly retorted. You. The old woman's popularity was trembling the most. If you have the ability, I will respectfully call you master, but I am very disappointed. You're looking for death. The old woman picked up her cane and directly stabbed Qin Ning's heart. Are you tired of living? Qin Ning grabbed it with his right hand and turned around, his tone heavy. The end of the cane was strange, and Qin Ning couldn't help but get angry. She tore her face and wanted to kill her. He chuckled contemptuously, exerted a slight force on his palm, and his crutch turned into debris scattered all over the ground. Do you agree? Qin Ning opened her eyes wide and angrily rebuked. The old woman hesitated and wanted to say something, but looking at Qin Ning's pitch-black eyes, she trembled for a moment and knelt down directly. I offended my duty. The old woman was about to apologize when she was immediately interrupted. It's none of your business here, keep your mouth shut. I don't want to see you again, Qin Ning waved impatiently. The old woman bowed again, without even greeting the master's family, and ran for her life in a panic. Nizi, who is this? The girl's parents didn't see Qin Ning's little gesture just now, but the old woman's action really scared them. Niz. Oh, so your nickname. That's a bit interesting, Qin Ning's mouth curled up. Uncle and aunt, don't worry, with him around, everything can be solved, Shen Ni said firmly in her tone. I'm more independent than I am. I don't have a clue. Qin Ning thinks of ways while roast. Oh. Thank you, master, the girl's father quickly thanked her. Is it happening so quickly, reporting back and forth? I'm not a master, Qin Ning was a bit reluctant. He had just mocked others, and now it's up to him. Auntie, you guys go out and rest first. It's good if I'm here. Shen and I saw Qin Ning's expression was not good, so she separated them early. Can't you be polite? Shen and I said displeased as she watched the door completely close. The clown is wandering, the master is in the hall, and I feel like they are cursing me. Qin Ning rolled her eyes and turned her head. Pushi, Shen and I understood and laughed out loud. I'll go out and rest first, Qin Ning said before going to open the door. What? Shen and I wondered, what the hell are you doing? Didn't you say that having you here is enough? Qin Ning tilted her eyes and looked over. Emotions have dug a pit and are waiting here. I personally dug this pit. Shen Ni's embarrassed face could even drip a few drops of blood. As soon as she saw it, Qin Ning walked up to the window and asked, what happened to her before? Do you know? Shen Ni's toes were a bit sore from applying too much force. When she heard the question, she lowered her head and said in confusion, I'm not sure either. Are you looking at the 3 rooms and 1 living room under your feet? Qi Ning leaned in humbly and said. Qi Ning. Don't go too far. Shen and I flipped her face at the time and didn't go too far in killing. With a restrained smile, Qi Ning pressed her right hand onto the girl's forehead. His solution is to find honey, and it's not just to find the existing experts at Shuyuan www.zhaoshuyuan.com. As he withdrew his palm, a ghostly figure was pulled out, and the girl began to struggle until the ghostly figure left her body before calming down. My patience is limited. I'll ask and answer now, and most of the time, I'll leave you speechless. Qi Ning said coldly, you can run away and give it a try. Try and die. Sir, spare your life. A crisp slap sounded. The ghost reacted and quickly shut up. Don't look too close to me, Qi Ning turned around and said. Shen and I didn't get angry anymore and timidly grabbed his arm without letting go. Why don't you go out and rest first? Qi Ning proposed. Where is the safest place? Shen and I knows better than anyone else. She shook her head like a tambourine and said, I don't. Qi Ning nodded and looked at the honest ghost standing aside, saying, tell me why you're doing this. If it weren't for him being too ostentatious, Qi Ning wouldn't have bothered to meddle in this matter. This guy is also too cunning. He found someone with a background to take action. Qi Ning felt his head iron. Ghost Shadow probably feels regretful even if he still has it. Madam is really beautiful, and we are a natural match. Ghost Shadow changed his strategy. There's a way. Ghost Shadow saw that Qi Ning didn't raise his hand and hit him, but instead smiled happily. What are you laughing at? Shen and I couldn't see or hear. Seeing Qi Ning laughing foolishly alone, she couldn't help but ask. I thought of some happy things, Qi Ning said perfunctorily. Don't interrupt. Honestly explain. Shen and I. Ghost Shadow.